Hi everyone, it's Miss Denise from Aaron Public Library and welcome to Cuisine for Kiddos. Today we're going to be making frozen s'mores, and this is thanks to Kaylin, who's the granddaughter of my college roommate Patty. So I'll show you what we're going to need before we get started. S'mores, of course we're going to need graham crackers. For the first layer that we're making, we will need chocolate pudding, and this is about a six serving box, and 2.5 cups of cold milk. Now, you know that I usually do half a recipe. That's why mine looks like less. It's only about 1.25 cups. That's the first layer. For the second layer, we're going to need 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, 7.5 ounces marshmallow fluff, and 8 ounces of whipped topping. So we are ready to get started. My hands are washed, my counter's been wiped off, and this is a cool, refreshing summer dessert, so no stove or oven needed for this recipe. All right, so we're going to start with the chocolate pudding layer. I'm only making half the recipe, that's why mine looks like a bit less. But if you wish to do the whole recipe, you would want to use a 9 by 13 pan. I'm just using a smaller pan. And my 1 1/4 cups of milk. And now I'm going to whisk the pudding together just until it starts to thicken. This just should take a couple of minutes. Now, Kaylin's grandmother and I were college roommates, so we are friends of many, many years. And I hear from Kaylin's grandmother that she is quite the chef in her own right. She made this recipe and sent me a photo of it, and it looked so good that I just had to make it. Just keep whisking until it starts to thicken. There, it's starting already, can you see? Okay. That looks good. And so now I'm going to put this into my pan. I have a smaller pan because I've done half the recipe. I always like to practice. So, in it goes. And this is parchment paper. You'll see in a few minutes why we need this. Makes it easier to get it out after it's been in the freezer. And if you use your spatula, you can get all of the ingredients out. There. And I'm going to use a spoon to spread it around into the corners. Cover the whole area. All right. Now this is going to go into the freezer while I make the next layer, just to sit for a little bit. Maybe the fridge. There. Alrighty. So the next layer is made with cream cheese that's been softened, 4 ounces, and marshmallow fluff. If you're making the whole recipe, you'd use the whole jar. That's about 7.5 ounces. These really do taste like s'mores, but they're just more cool and refreshing. And one more. That about does it. I'm just going to combine these ingredients. Shouldn't take too long because the cream cheese is already softened. Mix them well. Right. And the next ingredient is the 8 ounces of whipped topping. And the recipe directions say to fold in the whipped topping. And that means you want to be pretty gentle when you're mixing it, so you should use a spatula and mix it gently. Yeah, that looks pretty good. You wouldn't want to use the beaters for this. All right, now I'm going to get my first layer out of the fridge. And add to that the second layer. And because this is going to have to sit in the freezer for about 6 hours, you'll need to plan ahead. And spread it out so that it's nice and even. And this goes into the freezer for about 6 hours until it's frozen solid. And when it comes out of the freezer, because you use the parchment paper, it should be quite easy to get out of your container. Let's hope this works. Should work right out. Yay, it worked. All right. I'm going to take down the parchment paper. And top with graham crackers that have been broken in half. And if you have a little bit left over on the end, you can trim that off, or if you want to, you could cut really little pieces of graham cracker and make tiny little s'mores. I'm going to cut through the frozen part with my knife. And here's the kind of tricky part. Take a cookie sheet, put it upside down, and flip. Top with graham crackers again. And make sure it's cut all the way through. Oh yeah, that was easy. And this is what your frozen s'mores will look like. Such a nice, cool, refreshing summer treat. And these can be stored in the freezer for a while in an airtight container. Hope you like this recipe. See you next time. Bye.